Introducing Tools for Living Your Fullest Life. This is Life's Toolbox with Kenny Brixey on Empower Radio. Now, here's your host, Kenny Brixey.
Welcome to Life's Toolbox, where each week we discuss tools that will assist you in living an empowered and an authentic life. I am Kenny. Thank you so much for listening in. My guest this week is Max Ryan. I'm always caught up in Max's energy and enjoy our time together, so I invited him back without having an actual life tool to even discuss. As we were emailing the details of today's show back and forth, I noticed that his email signature includes the statement, "Unthinkably good things can happen." I just had to use this as one of the tools for the show, so I borrowed it for this week's show. I mean, who else would do justice to that but Max? Unthinkably good things can happen. He just lives that. For those of you who have not met Max, let me tell you just a little bit about him. Max is an international coach of the law of attraction expert and radio show host who shares many spiritual and metaphysical tools on how you can apply them in your life to actually live the magic of life. From the details of the law of attraction to A Course in Miracles, Max's depth of knowledge and ability to make complex concepts simple and applicable has earned him the reputation of being a spiritual how-to guy. And I can tell you, folks, I've studied Law of Attraction and Course of Miracles for quite some time myself, and it was not until I started hearing Max's take on it all that a lot of it started making sense for me. So he does bring it down to earth where it's much easier to understand. His pragmatic and non-traditional approach to coaching and spirituality supports his clients as they uncover their authentic selves and reach the next level in their professional, spiritual, and personal lives. For more information about Max and everything he has to offer, just go visit his website. And that site, I just found out, has changed. It is now www.attractresults.com, and I'll get Max to verify that here in a moment. He has studied with some of the world's greatest teachers and minds, including Marianne Williamson, Sonia Choquette, Louise Hay, Deepak Chopra, Lisa Williams, Sandy Foster, and more. And I mean, he's just got a hit list of all of my favorite people to study. So no wonder he and I connect so well. Some of his credits are he's certified in the law of as a law of attraction facilitator. He hosts the popular the Magic of Life radio show. 28-year student of teacher of A Course in Miracles, award-winning speaker and evaluator of Toastmasters International. The list goes on and on, folks. I'm going to stop short here because I want to get Max on, and you can definitely go to his website and find out more about this. But without further ado, Max, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fantastic, Kenny. Thank you so much. It's great to be back. I always love talking to you. You make it all so easy. It's great.
Well,
and let me just tell you really quickly, I did change my website, and it was maxryan.net. You will still be able to get to my website by going there, but the website is attractpositiveresults.com.
I thought that I left something out there. So
of course, it's a positive result. It is, because I really realized, a lot of different things we'll talk about, but I really realized, everything that I do is all about attracting positive results in your finances, in your peace with yourself, in your health, in your relationships. All of those are, learning how to work with this innate, amazing, incredible power of potentiality and creation that we all have, and we can attract whatever we want, and we're always attracting something, that. Yeah. So why not learn how to really go in and attract the positive results and make it a very deliberate action on our part, so that by the time, I always say this, is that so by the time we get to the end of our life and we need to go to the next thing, we'll have no regrets. We'll only have love and joy and peace. Yeah. That sounds good, doesn't it?
That's incredible. Now, Max, since the last time we talked, you experienced what I've heard it termed, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I've heard it termed a near-death experience.
Yes.
First of all, are you okay now?
I am okay now.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I did have an experience, and what's happened is that we are still monitoring my body. I'll tell you the story in just a second. We're monitoring my body, and specifically my liver and some organs that we're looking at to making sure it's healing and seeing what's going on. But other than that, I've gained my weight back and my strength, and I'm come back with in a very significant way at a different vibrational energy, and I'm rededicating myself to the work I do because of this what's called a near-death experience that I went through.
Now it seems to me that you went from and again I followed this online. I didn't call because I knew you were covered up with calls and really going through a lot. So I kind of followed posts from you and some people close to you, and it seemed like you went from near death to well on the mend pretty quickly. And how do you attribute that to your new vibration, which is all about attract positive results, or did that come later? I want to know your story. How did this
okay, let me just tell you
so
what
many
happened
questions.
to me. I know. Let's start with that story. Is that I had. Everything was going, fine in my life. I actually had, I'm originally from California. I had moved to New York to work on other things and to build my life in New York City. And I loved New York City, and I still do. But about 6 months ago, I realized that my father, who is, elderly, and he needs some help and needs someone to hang out with him and to do some stuff. It really sort of fell on my shoulders to make a choice to say, am I going to come and live with my dad for a while? And so I did that. And I made that choice. And it wasn't an easy choice, as we know, Kenny. Sometimes life brings you things that you realize, this is what I'm meant to be doing. It's not the easiest choice, but it's at the deepest level, you go, this is the right choice to do. Right. And I'm somebody that always is telling people, follow that thing, even though it's not the easiest, it's usually the right thing to do. So it wasn't easy, but I had to be with my dad, and I love him so much. So I came back to California to take care of my dad. Well, as everything turns out to be, I guess in June, I started feeling sick. I started feeling like, wow, I'm getting a cold. You know how you get that sick where you want to get in bed? You just want to get in bed. You know that feeling? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to get in bed. So I would get in bed. And I was like, and I started getting the chills. And I'm like, I'm getting sick. Well, it started getting more. And I was like, this is not great. This is not a very good thing. I better go to see what's happening. So we go to the urgent care, and they say, you have a virus. You have the flu. You need to take care of the flu. There's nothing to do. It's got to run its course. You know that story that they give you, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I went back home, and my intuition was telling me something's not right. And I started getting the chills, and and I'm in the desert right now, literally in the desert of California. Right. And I started getting so cold, I couldn't even speak. And my dad's like, we got to go to the emergency room. So we go to the emergency room. They say, you got a virus. We're going to you're dehydrated. We're going to put you on liquids. And so they did that, and they sent me back home. Watch your fever. And then it got worse, and I knew it. And then I actually lost a lot of consciousness at that point. I was awake and conscious, but I don't remember a lot of things. Well, I went back, and what ended up happening is my whole body started to fall apart. I got pneumonia within about a 6-hour period. My lungs filled up with pneumonia. My kidneys shut down. My liver shut down. I started to go into I was in septic shock. My whole body just basically stopped. Mm-hmm. And they had to intubate me, which is put the tube down your throat, the whole thing. Well, thank God I followed my intuition to say I've got to do something. Something's wrong. And thank God I was in a place and that they could help me. Mm-hmm. And they did help me. And my sister, who is here, is an emergency room nurse, and she has been a nurse for about 25 years. She was at my side and would not leave me the whole time. I was in intensive care for about 2 weeks. And I lost about 60 pounds. Wow. And they didn't know exactly what happened to me, but they did figure something very, very, very significant out, is that I had been out of the country about 3 months prior to that, took people on a retreat. And one thing that happened to me is that I got a very severe staph infection. This staph infection had lodged in my liver.
Oh,
and so unbeknownst to me, it was incubating in my liver for about 3 months. And then that's when I started feeling sick, when basically it started to manifest into this sickness. And so basically it was a very rare thing. We still can't say exactly what it is, but we can trace it back a few months that I was in fresh water. I got lots and lots of bug bites while I was in the jungle, that they think that that's what happened to me. So that's the physical side. When I was under, I experienced what I guess we would call a near-death experience.
Right.
In that time, I realized something was wrong with my body. My consciousness, it wasn't like I was floating out of my body and saw my body. It was a consciousness shift. And I knew something was wrong, but I knew it wasn't me. I knew it was my body. It was very clear it was my body was going through something. And within that, I started, I guess you would say, downloading and realizing and having all of these experiences of understanding life at a different level than and I've been a spiritual teacher and seeker really my whole life. And I started to understand about how energy works. I started to understand about what the ethers are, what we at source really are. And, we hear this all the time. You are not your body. We hear it all the time, right, Kenny? Well, I really got it. I got it. And I got a lot of other lessons from that. Well, so all of this is, I started tracking it down, and it took me I came back pretty quick from almost dying, and they said when I got out, it was basically I had about a 20% chance of getting through this whole thing.
Wow.
And so these other doctors, after I got out that would see me, all of them are like, you could not believe I was still alive from what I went through and how this thing just attacked me. And and since then I've done a lot of research and found out that there's a lot of people that this kinds of things have happened to and they don't make it.
Right.
So from there, I've really, I guess I just have to say is that my work was always very significant in what I was trying to teach people to live their lives. But now it's a different vibration. It's more urgent. And I literally have listed about 12 different lessons that are so profound for me that I have been sharing them with all my private clients, with anyone that follows me, because I think it's extremely valuable, extremely valuable. And I didn't have that kind of, let me just tell you, I didn't have that kind of like, ooh, there's the tunnel and I'm going to choose to go back. I didn't have that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. It was a definite consciousness shift. It wasn't anything. And it was so beautiful. It was just so, and it wasn't this overwhelming, like the pearls of the heavenly gates are opening. Right. And it was the most peaceful kind of, I don't know anyone that's listening, when you meditate and you get into that, all good, that all good place.
Right.
That's what it felt like. It just felt like all good. All good. And I literally felt like I could go or I could stay. And it's not like I had a conscious decision that I said, I'm going to stay now, but I must have made that decision. Right. But I realized that one of the big lessons was that I had sort of a life review, but not really. And I realized, oh my God, I loved my life. My life is awesome. I have no regrets. I've got wonderful people. I've done such great work. I feel like I've had so much love in my life. I've done everything that I've wanted to do. I wanted to be an actor. I was an actor. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. I've written. I've been on stage. I've done all the things, that I've wanted to do in my life. No matter how it seemed to be hard or whatever, I did all the things. So I knew when at the end, it'd be like, it's all good. It doesn't matter if I stay or go because everything's been fine. I had no regrets at all.
Well, it seems like it seems like you've been given an opportunity to come back and take it to new levels. Yeah. That's what comes to mind as you say this, because you did. You lived,
for sure.
You lived a great life.
Yeah.
And now you have a chance to step it up, and it's, Well, it sounds pretty incredible.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to share with your listeners, you're talking about unthinkably good things can happen. I'm going to tell you a whole other story about that. But, that's a tagline that's been a tagline of mine for a long time. And it is something that I'll tell you the story behind it, but I'll tell you the feeling and the vibration. Everything is about vibration. The vibration behind unthinkably good things can happen is all about pure potentiality, that anything is possible. Anything is possible. And also to do it now. This is one of the biggest lessons I come back with. And some of my clients are like, okay, I got it. And it's a lesson you've probably heard a million times. But when you come through it on the other end and you come to tell people, you've got to do it now. Do what you need to do now, because if in a blink of an eye you might be gone, you might have regrets. And I'm just getting emotional about it a little bit, because I feel strongly that so many people are not living their life. Yeah. And that it's about not having regret and having love and joy and peace. And if you want to get on the stage and play Hamlet, go do it. If you want to write the book, go do it. If you need to separate from a partner that's not supporting you, do it. If you've got to do it now. That's it. It's right in this moment. Their only moment is in this right now, so that you can go through maybe what I went through and go, it's all good if I go on to the next thing, because I have no regrets. I have love and joy, and I've cared for myself and the people around me. Yeah. It's huge. That's a huge thing. And since I've come back, the manifestation of everything in my life, I'm sort of a master manifester. Anyway, I manifest things really quickly. It's skyrocketed. Wow. I think it's because of this one thing about the do it now, no time, be in the moment, go now.
Yeah. Now I want to just clarify here, because I hear nothing about, when I hear you say go do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now, I hear nothing about just busyness. What I hear is do your purpose now. Yeah. And number one, I want to make sure that's exactly what you're saying. Yes. And then number two is just clarify that for the listeners.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Kenny, but I believe that that your purpose is to be yourself. That's it. I mean, on some level, it's to Socrates said those two famous words that are so profound: know thyself. Know thyself, and when you know yourself, you can go, oh, this isn't working for me. I've got to move forward. This works. Move with this. Go in that. And you're right. It's not busyness. It's not doing things to do things. Most of the time we're doing things because we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to or we're caught up in our ego. You know what? Have the strength and the courage to say, you know what? That seems impossible, but I need to do it. Yeah. I need to do it. Yeah. And it's not about busyness. You're right.
Yeah, the impossibility aspect is what usually drives me. It's like, okay, that's supposed to be impossible. Let's see if we can prove that wrong.
Right, exactly. It's so unrealistic, right? Yeah. That unrealistic thing. It's like people say, they always say, be realistic. It's like, no, you need to be unrealistic, because being realistic is usually following someone else's guide that's right for them.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to be realistic, then define your own realistic. Find what that means to you. And if it has anything to do with limits or blocks or excuses, you're on the wrong track.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. Totally. If something's telling you obviously your intuition, that still small voice for the divine or whatever you want to call that voice will always go, doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. It will never say, don't do that.
Right. Yeah. I have had that voice get so irritated with me that it did speak up like that, but most of the time it's that tiny little voice.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's like you've tried and tried and tried, and it's like, part of that voice does say, stop, stop, go this way. But it always is followed by gentle and loving and guidance. Right.
For sure. It truly is. Anytime you're coming from a place of essence, authenticity, purpose, it's done with love.
Yes,
and,
it is.
The beating yourself up and that holds no place in a true life of purpose, life of meaning.
Right, exactly. And one of the things, I mean, a lot of people, one of the lessons that I've really learned from this whole experience is that how people say, well, you need to learn about receiving. You have to learn about receiving so you can, attract the positive results. You know what I'm talking about, Kenny?
I sure do.
Well, one of the things I really realized is that, when I was in an induced coma and everything. And so I had to sit and just receive help. I was forced to stop. I was forced to just receive the guidance, the help, the love, the support from others. And it was, I don't want to say overwhelming, but that's the closest thing I can say. The sitting and not trying to get anything or trying to receive or trying to do anything this comes back to the doing thing you're talking about. I had such a lesson in if you just stop, and it's like meditation on some level, and you let that ego voice go down, and I was forced to just receive help. Boy, oh boy. It's huge. And you don't have to do anything to receive. People are like, I've got to do something to receive and something's wrong with me. I'm not receiving enough. Da, da, da. Stop that. Stop that.
Yeah.
Just being is receiving.
Exactly. My whole thought about receiving is, and I've heard what you're talking about, people talking about you have to learn how to receive. You've got to do this to receive. And it becomes a chore when you look at it that way. And I came to realize somewhere along the line that it wasn't that I needed to learn how to receive. I needed to be open and accept what was coming to me. It wasn't it wasn't that I had to, look out at my family members who were trying to do this for me and do some sort of process to make that okay. I just had to open myself up for it. Yeah. And you have to get still and just accept. And you were forced to do that.
I was forced to do it.
And folks, we don't have to go where Max went to
you don't.
to learn this lesson. So
you don't have to do it. And it's interesting. It's very Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles says, I cannot teach you about love's presence, but I can teach you to help you to remove the blocks to love's presence. So it's that receiving, that love, that energy of life, that's amazing gift of growth that's always happening that we're cutting ourselves off from because we have all of this mishigas or craziness where we think, well, I don't deserve it, no, all of that stuff. If you stop, it does take work. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure the reason that I've been able to come through this, and I came through this pretty darn well, is that I've done the work for so long to stay connected with that source, to always do that. So by the time that this came to me, it was like, oh, and you would think someone that's done as much work as I have, and maybe like you think, oh, they must know about receiving. There's always more to learn. And it's boundless how much love and growth and support the universe or God or whatever you want to call it is always flowing through us.
Yeah. The only limit to that is what we accept. We convince ourselves that we don't deserve things like you talked about, and that's not true.
It's not true. It isn't true. It's like I always say to people, it's like, the difference between, I do prosperity work or whatever, and people go, well, you know what? I just have an issue with lots of money. I don't think I deserve it. And then I'll say, you know what? You have to start to look at everything as all neutral. It's all neutral. It's all love. It's all love, and it's all energy coming to you. So you don't sit there and go, oh, I don't think I deserve toilet paper. Oh my God, do I deserve toilet paper? Should I go to the store and get toilet paper? Will they accept me buying toilet paper? No. You just go, of course I do. That's the same as receiving the energy of hundreds of thousands of dollars if that's what you want. And I'm going to tell you this. This is a great story. When I came to live with my father, I let go of my health insurance in New York. Guess what I'm going to say now, Kenny? I had no health insurance.
Wow.
When all this happened to me. So, but I knew, I was like, well, I've worked on money issues, whatever. Well, I knew that I had to get help, and And so when I got out of this whole thing, I was like, okay. I'm either going to have to go bankrupt to pay off this debt or whatever, but I've healed my relationship with money, and I realize it's all energy. I get it. So I was just like, other people around me are like, well, maybe we should call a lawyer just in case. And I hadn't got the whole bill and everything. And I ended up getting the whole bill, and it was $160,000-ish. And I was like, well, you know what? That's the way it is. And there was a couple of things they said, you can apply for this program or you can do this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. But I knew that no matter what, it's all good. I got my life. It's all good.
Yeah. That attitude is got to be one of the most healing things you can experience.
Totally.
Because you can work yourself up into a major emotional crisis by worrying about it all, and then undo all of the physical healing you just had.
Exactly. So guess what happened? I was approved for this program that literally, Kenny, it was 3 days after I got the hospital. I was on a walker. I could barely speak. They were like, you need to go this week because if you don't go, you're not going to be eligible to whatever. And I was like, okay, let's go. My sister took me there with the oxygen, with the whole thing. I felt they asked me for my social security number and a couple other questions. That's it. Well, guess what? I was approved. And I was like, okay, so I'm approved. What does that mean? It was just like 2 weeks ago that this all came down. Well, they said, you just need to call the hospital and the doctors. You need to give them this number, and then you will have a zero balance. I was like, is that it? Is it that easy? They're like, yeah, you're approved. So that means the state of California is paying for your... And I was like, are you kidding me? Wow. Are you freaking kidding me? But... it makes sense. See, unthinkably good things can happen. We'll come back to that. If you do the work to stay in that flow of love, if you do the work and you know it, it happens. So and in that week, talk about receiving. In that week, another friend of mine, I'm going through this intensive business school right now to help more people. It's very expensive. And I started it before I got sick. And now I'm like, wow, how am I going to pay all this money for the business school? And I was like, no, stop worrying. Stop it. Stop worrying. It's all unthinkably good things can happen. Friends of mine, 2 friends in particular, reached out to me and they said, I know that you're in this business school. We want to pay for the rest of your tuition.
Wow.
I was like, wow. It's the same thing. I knew, I expected, and it came because I healed the relationship. And everyone here that's listening to this, it's about doing the work to heal the relationship, that there's no difference between your toilet paper and $160,000. Same thing. Same thing. Yeah.
Another thing I heard there, Max, was you had said something about that all you had to do is go sign that paper, and somewhere in there you said, is it this simple? And so many times people, and me included, we get caught up in that's too easy to be true. There's no way it could be that easy, and we end up sabotaging the gift that has been placed in front of us. So when we look at it as unthinkably good things can happen, as opposed to that's too good to be true, is what we receive. What an incredible lesson and example you set.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's important the words that you just said. Words are so powerful, Kenny. You know that. And say how you say the words create your vibration, and then that creates your results. If you walk around going, unthinkably good things can happen or anything is possible, then you have a completely different reality.
Exactly.
Completely different reality. Yeah, you're right. And, that ego will get in there, and the world will always show you these ideas or these feelings that it's all complicated and you've got to jump through hoops and you're going to have to declare bankruptcy and then you're going to lawyer. And this is what I always tell people. Once you hear that from the world, you go, la, 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 la. I will not listen to that because you're creating your reality.
Yeah.
You create your reality.
Yeah. That's so powerful.
Yeah, it is. And so fun, I have to say. It's so fun and magical to go, you know what? You don't have to follow the rules of the world. The world is insane.
It is. I saw a post just a little while ago on I think it was on Facebook, They were giving some example of something that's happening somewhere around the world and talking about how screwed up the world is.
Oh, yeah.
And I just typed back. I said, well, guess what you're going to end up getting?
I know.
Because if that's what you seek out, that's what you'll find.
And it's important for us to do that all the time and say, wait a second. It's not about saying that I'm denying this, what some realities that are hurting people. Of course, that's something you have to look at. Mm-hmm. But you can't fall into the pattern of, oh, that's everywhere and the world is falling apart. And no. There are a lot of that is happening right now.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Good for you. Good for you.
Well, Max, believe it or not, it is time to wrap up the show. I just can't believe how fast these go. But before we do, though, would you please tell our listeners again how they can find out more about your amazing work? How do they contact you and connect with you?
Sure. First of all, my website is attractpositiveresults.com. Go on there. I've got a couple of free gifts that if you'd like a 5-day Manifest with Max videos that are totally free to you. And then you also get my high content newsletter every week that helps you to attract more positive results. And I'm so excited about this. I've been working on 3 or 4 books. Since I got sick, I have written a whole book, and it's almost going to be out, and it's called Say Yes If, and it's 30 days of positive questions to transform your life. So all of that will be on attractpositiveresults.com. And my radio show. You can listen to past episodes of my radio show.
Great. Folks, I tell you what, I have seen the videos, and I get the newsletter. It's amazing. It's well worth the time to go over there and sign up for it, and you will be pleased that you did. Max, thanks again for being here on the show, and I do encourage everybody to check out his work. My deepest gratitude goes out to Brent Carey for creating Empower Radio, and thanks today to Kyla for taking care of things back in the studio and keeping us to where you can hear all that we say. Remember, please, if you have any questions, send them into my website, www.kennybrixey.com. And until next week, keep remembering, unthinkably good things can happen, and they will.